I sink into my favorite leather armchair, the one that holds the memory of countless evenings when, exhausted, I allowed myself a moment of peace, sinking into its soft depths like a familiar embrace. With a dull thud, I kick off my heavy work boots, and my freed feet seem to sigh for the first time all day. I wiggle my toes, feeling the rough texture of the carpet under my soles, and in that moment, I almost physically feel the fatigue giving way to satisfaction. Restoring the house has taken every minute of the last few months, but it was honest, real work, the kind that goes into your hands, your bones, your very core. The rotten floorboards I fought with plank by plank, the crumbling plaster settling as white dust on my shoulders, and that cursed 100-year-old staircase stubbornly resisting every attempt to repair it. All of it has become almost a personal history of my persistence. My muscles ache pleasantly, the way they only do when you know. Today, you did everything you could. The phone on the coffee table vibrates briefly, insistently. I'm in no hurry. I reach for the glass of dark burgundy Cabernet I poured myself 10 minutes ago. The wine has warmed to room temperature and now seems rich, velvety, almost alive. I raise it to the light. The last rays of the sunset slide through the old windows of my craftsman-style house, turning the liquid into a ruby mirror. The phone springs to life again, falls silent, and vibrates once more. I take a large sip, feeling the cool wine spread through my body with a soft warmth, and only then do I reach for the screen. Those messages again. Contractors, clients, inquiries, estimates, reports, an endless string of concerns, as if my entire life now consists of bullet points and check marks. I mechanically scroll through the notifications, and suddenly my finger freezes on the screen. My heart skips a beat. A photograph. My sister Laura, all in white satin, her face hidden beneath a light veil, but even through the fabric, I can see she is smiling, beaming. The caption beneath the picture reads, "Final fitting for the big day. Laura and Fidel together forever." My breath catches, as if someone has sucked the air out of the room. A wedding? What wedding? I feverishly scroll through the feed, my fingers trembling. The screen is filled with endless photographs. Cousin Barbara is posing in a lilac bridesmaid's dress, smiling at the camera with that grace which always irritated me. Aunt Rosa is arranging flower samples on a long table, casually adjusting a purple ribbon in the frame. And then, my mother's familiar hands holding a set of embossed invitations. Invitations, among which there wasn't a single one for me. I click on the last image. Beneath it, hundreds of hearts, smileys, comments, names, faces, shadows of the past. Childhood friends, distant relatives, everyone I haven't seen since graduation. "Can't wait to celebrate with you next month," someone writes. "The venue looks amazing," chimes in another. "So happy to be part of your special day," adds a third. 57 comments. Everyone is going. Everyone except me. The phone suddenly rings, the vibration cutting through the silence. The screen shows the name. Mom. Cynthia Alvarez. Of course. Perfect timing. I answer, pressing the phone to my ear, feeling the tension already rising in my throat. "Mom." "Deborah, sweetie." Her voice is even, too even. "I was just thinking about you. How's work?" My free hand clenches into a fist. "Work is fine. I just saw Laura's wedding dress on Instagram." Silence. It lasts for 3 heartbeats, long and ringing. "Oh," she finally says, clearing her throat. "I was going to call you about that." "About that?" The words come out hoarsely. "My sister's wedding. Did my invitation get lost?" She sighs. "Deborah, don't make such a big deal out of it. You know how sensitive Laura is." "Sensitive? And what does that have to do with it?" "She just thought you wouldn't have time anyway. You're always so busy with your career." The air in the room seems to have grown colder. I stand up, walk to the window. Somewhere in the distance, the evening lights of Denver are flickering on, indifferent and beautiful. "So, you all just decided not to invite me," I say quietly. "Fidel believes family is important," she replies, as if that explains everything. "Am I not family?" The words scratch my throat. Of course you are. But you know how things were. After you criticized her cafe. I co-signed the loan after all. I close my eyes. $22,000. The amount I was paying back when Laura gave up, abandoning the business for the sake of the children. She needed to think about the children. My mother's voice becomes firmer. It's not easy being a single mother, Deborah. I press my forehead against the cold window pane. Memory opens old pages. 10-year-old Laura breaking our grandmother's vase, and I take the blame. Teenage Laura running away from home, and I cover for her. 16-year-old me announcing that I received an engineering scholarship, and Mom says that familiar phrase, "Of course you got it. You're the responsible one." Always responsible. Always the one who saves, fixes, pays off debts. "I wasn't forgotten, Mom," I whisper. "I was erased." "Now you're being dramatic," she replies wearily, like a woman accustomed to a child's whims. "We'll talk about this later. I need to help Laura with the seating chart." The call ends. Notifications flash on the screen again. New photos, new congratulations. Laura is twirling in her dress. Fidel and his best man are laughing, tasting cakes. My parents are beaming nearby, a happy couple, a family portrait without me. The phone vibrates again with messages. Rebecca writes, "Did you see? Call me." Leonardo from work? What the hell? Even Mrs. Cracks from next door is asking if I'm aware of what's happening with my family. I lean back in the chair, and the wood quietly creaks beneath me. Like an old friend who doesn't need an explanation that it's not just my body that feels heavy inside, but my soul as well. The burden of 35 years weighs on my shoulders, not like time, but like lead that has seeped into my blood and become a part of it. I built my life on restoration. I brought beauty back to ruined mansions, revived historic facades, rescued stories from beneath layers of dust and indifference. But with all that, I couldn't reclaim the simplest thing for myself, my place at the family table. This realization comes sharply, like an icy wave, and it takes my breath away. All these years, I was the mediator, the support, the very person who offered a shoulder when others hid behind fatigue or resentment. I co-signed loans, babysat other people's children when asked, for just an hour, pulled my sister out of her nightly crises, and listened to my mother's complaints when my father retreated to the garage again just to avoid talking. I always showed up when no one else wanted to, and now my reward is invisibility. As if someone took an eraser to my name. The phone vibrates on the table again, insistently, as if persuading me to return to that stream of others' expectations. But I press the button and place it screen down. The day is fading outside the window. The mountain peaks west of Denver are tinged with copper, melting in a lilac haze. Out there, beyond them, my parents' Victorian house still stands. The very one with the creaking floorboards of childhood, where it smells of cinnamon in the mornings, and where Laura now lives again, having returned with her 2 children after Fidel left her. And it is there, within those walls, that they are now planning the wedding. Without me, something shifts in my chest, but it's not anger. That burned out long ago. It's a cold, calm understanding, similar to the clarity before a storm. I am no longer obliged to fix what they break again and again. Quietly, almost in a whisper, I say into the emptiness of the room, I will not fix what they broke. My voice sounds surprisingly firm. I take the phone, open Instagram, and methodically, without unnecessary emotion, unfollow my sister, my mother, my father, my cousins. Each action is like shedding a weight I've carried for decades. This isn't revenge, it's a boundary. The last golden light slides across the floor and disappears, leaving the room in a soft, complete darkness. I don't turn on the lamp. I sit in that darkness, and for the first time in many years, I feel it becoming easier to breathe. The silence, which once felt like loneliness, now sounds like freedom. The tires of my car crunch on the gravel driveway leading to my parents' Victorian house. The morning sun dazzles my eyes, reflecting off the stained glass above the door, breaking the light into ruby and amber fragments that slide across the old porch like living ghosts of the past. The house, despite the years, still stands proudly against the backdrop of the mountains, its carved details reminiscent of gingerbread. Every curl is painfully familiar, like my own reflection in a mirror. I grip the steering wheel until my fingers turn white, feeling that old, sticky feeling rising, a mix of anxiety and anticipation. 3 days have passed since I found out about the wedding. 3 days and dozens of missed calls. Only Mom doesn't give up. Her voicemails are getting longer and more theatrical, as if she's preparing me for a scene where I'm supposed to play the responsible daughter again. A figure appears in the garage doorway. My father, stooped, in a stained shirt with a rag in his hand. His '67 Mustang is nearby, the open hood like a wound he's been staring into for years, just to avoid seeing everything else. He notices me, wipes his hands, and after a quick glance towards the house, retreats back into the shadow. Doesn't wave. I turn off the engine and get out of the car. The air is hot, smelling of dust and motor oil. "Dad," I say. "Debbie." He nods and retreats deeper into the garage. "Your mom's inside." Of course she is. Of course he'll let her face the storm. Some things never change. The screen door creaks as I enter the house. The smell of coffee and cinnamon hits my nose. Her usual shield, an aromatic armor against any difficult conversation. Mom appears in the kitchen doorway, concern on her face, slightly seasoned with a nervous smile. "Deborah, I was just about to call you," she says with strained warmth. "Coffee? I baked your favorite coffee cake." "I don't want coffee," I reply, not moving from my spot, hands in my pockets. "I want to know why I wasn't invited to Laura's wedding." The smile fades for a moment, but she quickly brings it back, like an actress who forgot her line. "Darling, it's not that simple. You've been so busy with your career." "Don't," I interrupt. "That's not the reason." She fusses with the coffee maker, as if hiding a tremor in her movements. "Laura was afraid you wouldn't like Fidel. You can be intimidating." I let out a short laugh. Intimidating? Because I asked a couple of questions when she brought him home after 3 weeks of dating. "He thinks family is important," Mom says, placing a mug in front of me, her hands trembling slightly. "And you've always been so independent." At that moment, a clatter comes from the garage, and my father appears in the doorway, leaning against the frame. "Don't complicate things," he mutters, not looking up. "There are enough problems as it is." "Complicated for whom, Dad?" I ask, feeling a lump rising in my throat. "For Laura? For Fidel? Or for the two of you who have once again decided to pretend I don't exist?" Mom presses her palm to her lips, her eyes filling with tears. Swift, rehearsed, as if from an old script. "That's not fair," she says quietly, and her voice sounds like an attempt to hold on to something that has long since crumbled. Fair. The word escapes on its own, as if it had been hiding somewhere between my teeth and finally decided to come out. Was it fair, I ask, when I became a co-signer on the loan for her cafe? $22,000, Mom. That's the amount I paid back for a whole year after Laura dropped everything 9 months later, deciding business wasn't for her. Mom winces, as if I've said something indecent again. She needed to think about the children, she whispers, as if that's a universal spell justifying any betrayal. Dad, who had been silent in the shadows until now, suddenly intervenes, and his voice cuts through the air. "After Fidel left," he says, "she was really struggling then." I turn to him, and our eyes meet for the first time in the entire conversation. "Fidel left 4 years ago, Dad. 4. And the cafe fiasco was just last year." They both lower their eyes, as if these numbers are sharp stones that are painful to look at. I take a step forward, and the words come out with that cold calmness that comes when emotions have been burned to ashes. To both of them. I was paying off that loan while she was posting pictures from Sedona, where she was spiritually rebooting. "Being a single mother isn't easy," Mom whispers like a prayer, not looking up. "And Fidel is her second chance." "Second chance?" I repeat, feeling something between laughter and despair rising within me. "He has a good job," Dad chimes in, as if trying to put everything in order. A pharmaceutical company, stability. He can provide for her and the children. Wonderful, I say, feeling each of their words settling on me like pieces of cloth forming a disgusting mosaic. So she's finally found her meal ticket, and now I'm supposed to be ashamed. I pause, studying their faces. Did Fidel say he didn't want me there? I ask quietly, and their silence answers more eloquently than any words. Does he think I don't care about family? A laugh escapes me, sharp, almost painful. How nice to hear that from a man who has known her for, 7 months? Please understand. Mom reaches for me, her hand trembling. This wedding means everything to her. After the cafe, after all of that. Emma and Lucas deserve stability, Dad adds. The children. Always the children. 8-year-old Emma and 6-year-old Lucas, their innocent faces always serve as an excuse for all adult mistakes. They become a shield, convenient to hide behind. And me? I ask, almost in a whisper. What? Mom looks up. Do I deserve anything after all this? After paying off her debts? After babysitting the kids every weekend so she could go on dates? After you cried to me for months about Fidel and told me, you're stronger? As if that's not sadness, but a compliment. I see her face harden, her lips biting back a word that never comes out. You've always been responsible, she finally says, and those 3 words fall like a verdict. Responsible. The family ATM, the free therapist, the on-call babysitter, but not a person, and certainly not a sister worthy of a place on the guest list. I turn towards the door. My body aches with fatigue. Not physical, but the kind that accumulates over decades when you're perceived not as a daughter, but as a tool for solving others' problems. Deborah, please. Mom follows me, a plea entering her voice. We're family. Family? I turn around. Is that really what we are? Dad steps forward, his eyes downcast. Where are you going? Away from here, I say evenly. If Laura wants the perfect wedding, let her have it without me. I walk out, feeling their gazes on my back, bewildered, devastated, as if they are seeing me for the first time, not in the role of rescuer, but simply as a woman tired of holding up other people's walls. 20 minutes later, I'm sitting in a booth at the Copper Kettle, the cafe where Rebecca works. She spots me immediately, brings a latte without asking, and sits down opposite me. Bad, huh? She says quietly. I nod, warming my hands on the cup. Worse. Fidel thinks I don't care about family. That's why I wasn't invited. Rebecca purses her lips. Fidel, the guy who's known your sister for less than a year now, gets to decide who your family is. Obviously a genius. She pulls out her phone, tosses it on the table. Speaking of geniuses, Kelly was at a bar downtown last night. Look, on the screen, Fidel, hugging a blonde who is definitely not my sister. They're laughing. Too close. Too intimate. In the last shot, his lips are touching her neck. My stomach clenches. Not from surprise, but from that bitter calm when everything finally falls into place. When was this taken? I ask. Last night, around 11. I hand her back the phone, stare at my cup for a long time. And what am I supposed to do with this? Rebecca blinks. Tell your sister. Tell your parents. Stop the wedding before it's too late. I smile. Tiredly. Joylessly. The old me would have done just that. Rushed to save Laura, absorbed her anger when the truth hit her. But not now. No, I say, and the word sounds firm, unfamiliar. I won't do that. Deborah. This time, I'll let the truth reveal itself without my involvement. I wasn't invited to the wedding, which means I have no right to interfere. Rebecca looks at me for a long time with sadness and understanding. That doesn't sound like you. Maybe it's supposed to, I reply. The realization settles deep inside, heavy but without pain. I spent my whole life fixing Laura's mistakes, and look where it got me. Excluded from her wedding, Rebecca whispers. Exactly, I say. Let Fidel be Fidel. Let Laura make her choice. I'm no longer their safety net. If she marries him, then so be it. Those words should hurt, but they don't. There's only emptiness and a strange calm inside. I can't save those who don't want to be saved. and for the first time in my life, I'm in no hurry to prevent a catastrophe. This feeling of inaction is strange, unsettling, but beneath it stirs something new. Relief. Late in the evening, I pour myself a glass of Cabernet and settle by the window. Beyond the glass, the nightlights of Denver sparkle, breathing neon and promises I no longer need. The phone lies screened down on the coffee table, intentionally silent like everything I've left behind. 3 weeks have passed since I learned that the path to Laura's wedding was closed to me. And today, according to Rebecca, the day they had all been preparing for with almost religious fervor has arrived at the Ridgewood estate. Ridgewood. The name itself sounds like an antique seal on an expensive envelope, a symbol of an exclusive circle where ordinary people don't belong. Mom, Rebecca said, spent weeks there directing florists, demanding that every white rose stand at precisely the right angle, that the gold accents on the tables reflect the light exactly as she had seen it in a magazine. 150 guests, a chef from California, reporters from the local press ready to cover the union of my sister, the eternal favorite, and her groom, the respected engineer, Fidel Reed. I sit in the armchair by the window, warming the glass of wine in my hands, the thick darkness of the Cabernet playing with highlights, and take a slow, deliberate sip, as if I could drown the remnants of anxiety in it. For the 10th time today, I catch my hand reaching for the phone, to check the feed, to see their glittering celebration. But what's the point? I force myself to set aside this weakness, reach instead for my old, worn copy of The Ethics of Restoration in Historic Architecture, a book I reread when I need to regain a sense of stability. Work has always saved me. There's no falsehood in it, only facts, materials, and patience. But the phone still bothers me. It vibrates on the table. Briefly, then again, then insistently, as if someone is trying to tap out an alarm through this rhythm. I sigh, put the book aside, and pick it up. 27 notifications, all from the last 4 minutes. My fingers hover over the screen. Part of me wants to just mute it, calmly finish my wine, pretend nothing is happening. But that old instinct, the habit of not turning away from trouble, kicks in again. I swipe the screen. The first thing I see is shaky video footage. Someone is filming on a phone, obviously among the guests. The camera jerks, the image ripples. But I recognize the hall. Those same white roses, arches of glass and gold, floors polished to a mirror shine. People are standing in a dense mass by the walls. Someone is shouting, someone is filming. In the center, Laura, my sister. Her white dress shows no trace of perfection now. It's crumpled, darkened with moisture. Her hands are trembling. Mascara is smeared across her cheeks. Facing her, Fidel. His tuxedo is unbuttoned. His tie is askew. His face is contorted with anger. "You knew I was seeing someone?" he shouts, and even through the speaker, the strain in his voice is audible. "You set me up." "Everyone knew," she screams back. "You just thought you were hiding it better than others." One of the guests intervenes. Someone shrieks. And suddenly, Fidel's hand flies up. Not a fist, but an open palm, a sharp, desperate swing, and the blow lands on her cheek. The sound of the slap echoes through the hall, followed by a hum of outrage, screams. The camera jerks, the image flickers, then goes dark. "My God," I whisper, pressing my palm to my lips. I start feverishly scrolling through the notifications, as if I can find an explanation, a way to restore meaning. Messages flash one after another. Rebecca. "Did you see that?" Leonardo. "Jesus, it's all over Instagram, the Reed Alvarez catastrophe." Mrs. Cracks. "Dear, your family is on the news. Channel 9. I open the local news app, and there it is, the anchor's voice, cold, almost curious, reporting. This evening at the Ridgewood estate, Groom Fidel Reed allegedly assaulted bride Laura Alvarez during a heated argument that arose following accusations of infidelity. A replay of the video flashes on the screen, this time from a different angle. In the corner of the frame, I see Mom, her face pale, eyes wide as if holding back a scream. Dad takes a step forward, but 2 men hold him back. Everything else loses clarity. Flashes, commotion, crying. I sharply turn off the phone, throw it on the cushion beside me. My heart is pounding so hard I can almost hear the beats in the air. There's a tiny, mean part of me that feels something like vindication. See, life itself has placed the accents, not me. But that feeling is instantly drowned by a wave of genuine anxiety. Laura is still my sister, however reckless she may be. Seeing her day turn into shame and pain is more than I can bear. I drain the glass, refill it, and sit, staring into the darkness, waiting for what must inevitably happen. The phone rings at 11:47 p.m. The screen glows with the name Mom. I let it ring a few times, 4, maybe 5, before answering. "Mom," I say, and immediately hear her sobs. "Deborah." Her voice trembles, as if she's barely holding on. "Your sister is hurt. Please come." I close my eyes. I've heard these words too often in various forms. Help, bail us out. You're the strong one. And already on my tongue is the automatic phrase, "I'm on my way. I'll fix everything." But I don't say it. Images flash before my eyes. Wedding photos I will never see in person, cafe bills, debts, nights I babysat her children while she tried to start over. It all passes before my mind's eye in a second, and I suddenly feel a crystalline clarity inside. "I wasn't invited, Mom," I say quietly. "If I come now, it will only make things worse." Silence on the other end, such that I can hear her struggling to breathe. Then her voice, barely audible. "But she needs you. She has always needed you." "No," I reply softly. "She needed Fidel. She needed status, security, the life she was always chasing. From me, she only needed absence." "That's not fair, Deborah," Mom whispers. "I know," I say, watching the wine swirl slowly in the glass, reflecting the city lights. "But justice isn't always my duty." The silence becomes almost tangible, like a thick fabric between us. I imagine Mom searching her memory for the right words, the ones that always worked before. Pity, reproach, duty. But something inside me has changed, quietly and finally. "I'm sorry for what happened," I add, almost in a whisper. "Yes, no one deserves that. But this time, I am not the solution." The line goes dead. I look at the phone, and in my chest, where panic usually lives, there's a strange emptiness. Not painful, but calm, like the stillness after a storm. For the first time in many years, I am not running towards a family catastrophe, not grasping for the role of savior. And this absence of anxiety is an unfamiliar, but surprisingly vivid feeling. That night, sleep came to me with a rare, deep breath, and I woke in the morning with the feeling that a heavy veil had fallen from my chest. The next evening, Rebecca came over with takeout from the Thai place on 17th, and we had dinner at the kitchen island where the TV in the far corner quietly played the news, and footage of that wedding disaster flickered like ghosts, periodically interrupting our conversational pauses. "You holding up?" Rebecca asks, twirling noodles on her fork, and I say it's just surreal. Though inside there's still a prickly feeling that the world has tilted slightly. The neighbors still glance at me with sympathy when I get the mail, and Mrs. Cracks gives me banana bread, the universal language of comfort in domestic catastrophes. I laugh because I don't know what else to do with this mix of resentment and relief. Rebecca smirks, then turns serious. "Your mom's call? Still nothing?" "I didn't go yesterday," I say, and surprise flashes in her eyes. "Seriously? It's about time." After dinner, Leonardo texts, "Saw the reports. You okay?" "Better than expected," I reply briefly. His words about some families only valuing you when something needs fixing stick in me like a thorn, and it's about them that I'm thinking when there's a knock at the door and I see through the peephole my father, soaked to the bone, standing in the rain without an umbrella, his tired face looking older than his years. "Deborah," he calls, barely audible, and his voice is full of pleading. "Please, I need to talk to you." I press my forehead against the cold door, feel the taps of his fingers, and his words, "It's about the house," sound like a verdict. The bank is threatening foreclosure, and my hand on the doorknob seems to freeze. Part of me wants to pretend I'm not here, leave him in the rain, but his stooped shoulders and drenched jacket tell a different story. I turn the lock, say he has 10 minutes, and let him in. He enters, water dripping from his hair. He holds a crumpled envelope and his eyes spark with desperation. "It's even worse," he says, dropping the envelope on the table. While the kettle whistles, I burrow into the offices. Money talks always require a hot drink, and place 2 cups on the table. He speaks directly. "We used your money differently." I blink and he clarifies. "What money?" "The monthly transfers for the house, $110? "No, not that. 4 years ago you said you needed it in small installments." He pulls out the envelope and places a stack of papers on the table. I scatter the statements, credit agreements, and collection notices, and my gaze stops on the amount, $195,000. My blood runs cold. "You took out a loan?" I ask. He nods. And in response comes that same explanation. After Fidel left, the children needed stability. I flip through the documents and see the signatures. Cynthia Alvarez and Laura Alvarez. Dad stammers, explaining that Laura was supposedly living with them, and the bank approved the application. And suddenly I understand the terrible truth. The money I had been sending wasn't for the mortgage down payment, but for servicing a line of credit, and then entirely for covering other expenses. Helicopter rentals, courses, services I wasn't informed about. I stood as if stunned. And it was as if someone had turned a key and opened a door from which a cold draft of disappointment poured out. And I realized with burning clarity that the money I had faithfully transferred all that time had essentially been going to pay for helicopter flights and other services, not to pay down the mortgage principal. I take a calculator from the desk drawer, and my fingers, trembling with a mix of fury and disbelief, barely hit the buttons as I start calculating. 4 years, 12 months, $1,100 a month, and the final figure, $82,000, seems to come alive on the screen, settling heavily and irrevocably in the air between us. My voice sounds as if it's not mine, distant, alien, as if someone else is speaking these words. "You fraudulently took $82,000 from me." Father lowers his eyes, but I don't give him a chance to retreat into his usual silence. "Where did the money go?" I demand, slamming my palm on the table, tea from the mug splashing, spreading in warm stains across the documents. We both watch as the liquid soaks into the paper, but neither of us moves to wipe it up. His answer is dry and lifeless. Laura's debts, legal fees after Fidel left, the down payment on a new house, because he, Fidel, had requirements about where they lived. I laugh, and the sound tears out of me sharply, like the snap of a broken string, a laugh full of bitterness. Fidel, the very man who hit her at their wedding, that's who got my money. Father doesn't answer, and that silence is enough to make everything obvious. I stand up, feeling everything inside me go still, and with mechanical precision go to the study, where I take my phone and camera, return, and without a word start photographing every document, every page. "What are you doing?" he asks, but in my voice when I answer, there is no tremor, no doubt. Documenting fraud. The shutter clicks rhythmically, almost triumphantly, and with each click, I feel myself regaining lost strength. Bank fraud, falsification of citizen information, it's all here. He tries to stop me, says, "You can't." "I can," I interrupt, not taking my eyes off the camera. "And I will." His voice breaks. "This will destroy your mother, Laura's children." I raise my hand, stopping him, and say quietly but clearly, "Don't you dare put that on me. I didn't lie. I didn't steal." His face wrinkles as if in pain, and he exhales. "We never meant for this." I put the camera down on the table and look him straight in the eye. "No, you meant all of it. You just didn't expect to get caught." At that moment, the phone in my pocket vibrates. A message from Leonardo, a bank contact. His cousins work in mortgage fraud investigations. "How much is left on the line of credit?" I ask, not looking up. "About 70,000, Father replies wearily. "The foreclosure notice came yesterday. They're demanding the full amount." I continue photographing, recording every signature, every false statement, and the silence becomes almost physical. Father watches me work methodically and seems to finally grasp the scale of what they've done. "Why now?" I ask, still not looking up. He hesitates, then answers quietly, "Your mother thought we could refinance, but after the wedding news hit the airwaves, the banks refused to deal with us, and I couldn't live with it anymore. Not after you were excluded from the guests, not after everything." Before I can answer, the phone rings again. I pick up, not looking at the screen, and hear Rebecca's agitated voice. "Watch out." The next day begins with an unusual calm. I stand in the middle of the living room, surveying the space with that attentive gaze I usually reserve for inspecting old buildings. In the center of the room is my oak table, restored by my own hands from an 18th century farmhouse, and on its surface, among neatly arranged papers, photographs, and bank statements, a whole chronicle of betrayal is laid out. There's a knock at the door, and I know in advance who it is. Aunt Rosa, my father's sister, the only one of them all who never played favorites. She enters, shivering from the cold, her silver hair stuck to her cheeks, her eyes anxious but clear. "You look tired, dear," she says. "Not tired, ready," I reply, adjusting a stack of documents. She squeezes my hand, and her words are simple, direct. Family should speak the truth, not beautiful lies. At that moment, the doorbell rings again. I look at my watch, 15 minutes early than agreed. Classic Cynthia, arrive early to seize the initiative. "I'll make coffee," says Aunt Rosa, heading to the kitchen, and I open the door. They stand on the porch, Mom with a frozen mask of dignity, Dad with downcast eyes, and Laura behind them, arms wrapped around herself as if for protection. "Come in," I say evenly. They file in like participants in a funeral procession, settle around the table, and only Laura, noticing the papers, gasps softly. Mom purses her lips. Dad slumps. Aunt Rosa returns with coffee, but no one touches it. I stand, and the silence between us stretches like a taut string. Finally, Mom can't take it. "What is all this drama for, Deborah? If you need help with finances..." I sharply raise my hand. "Stop." The word cuts through the air like a knife, silencing her. "For once in your life, just stop talking and listen." My phone rings, and its quiet buzzing makes me flinch, as if the sound belongs to a past that refuses to recede. Rebecca is the first to approach, takes it, glances at the screen, and nods. "It's all set," she says, and I hear in her voice that cautious warmth reserved for those who have just weathered a storm. "How are you feeling?" she asks. I think for a moment. Anger still lives within me, but it's no longer the scorching fire that burned me inside when I first learned the whole truth. Now it has become different, a clean flame that warms rather than destroys, an inner fire in which the past is being reforged. I feel that for the first time in many years, I have stopped carrying others' debts, others' excuses, others' burdens. 3 days later, the mailman brings a certified envelope with a check, official confirmation that the vacant lot has been sold. I sit at the table, slice open the thick paper with a knife, take out the check, and stare at the numbers for a long time. They partially cover my losses, but of course, not all. And yet, as I put it in my wallet, I understand that I've received something incomparably greater: peace, boundaries, my own strength. I am no longer obliged to be the rescuer for everyone who makes mistakes. For the first time in 35 years, the only life I need to fix is my own. The morning light, soft and golden, pours through the wide kitchen window, falling on the freshly wiped oak countertop. I run my palm over it, remembering how a year ago, sanding the wood, I got several splinters. The pain that made me want to give up everything that now seems almost symbolic. I restored this house with my own hands, a ranch-style house, 3 bedrooms, a spacious porch, and a view of the mountains that still takes my breath away in the mornings. The phone vibrates, a light tap on the granite island bringing me back to the present. I expect a notification from Balance Forward. Tomorrow is my first seminar on financial abuse, an ironic but healing twist of fate. However, the screen shows Laura's name. Thank you for letting me make things right. The kids miss you. I sit down with a cup of coffee, look at the message, and feel a strange calm. No anger, no pain, no heavy guilt. From mutual acquaintances, I've heard. Laura has 3 jobs now, no support from the family, everything on her own, for the first time in years. Emma walks to school alone now. Lucas plays in the league without his mother's pressure. I type a reply unhurriedly. If you want, I'm free Saturday afternoon. The reply comes almost immediately. Just me first. We need to talk. I add briefly, no apologies. 2 o'clock. I have things to do by 4. Simple, clear boundaries no longer seem like coldness. It's just a new form of self-care. Saturday arrives with a light rain, drumming on the windows and giving the house that special silence in which every breath is audible. When Laura's sedan stops outside my house, I notice a missing hubcap, a dent in the door, and understand. Life is finally demanding effort from her, not superficial beauty. She stands on the porch, holding a small wooden box, her fingers white with tension. Raindrops cling to her straight, uncolored hair. For the first time in many years, I see her real self. You look different, I say, stepping aside to let her in. 3 jobs will do that, she replies, trying to smile, but her voice is hoarse, devoid of its former confidence. There's no more of that sweetness which always hid the lies. We go to the kitchen where 2 cups of tea are already waiting. No wine, no attempts to reclaim a false closeness. She places the box between us. This is for you. Dad found it when they were cleaning out the house. I open the lid. Inside are our grandfather's old pocket watch, the gold case tarnished, but the hands, as if alive, still quiver. The one thing I ever truly wanted and which none of us received after his death. How did you know? I ask, carefully lifting the watch. You mentioned it when we were 16, she says quietly. I wind it, and a barely audible click transitions into an even ticking, old but confident, like the breath of a house. You see, I say, not looking away, time doesn't erase mistakes. It just teaches us to stop in time. We sit in silence, and the rain softly taps against the glass. No heaviness, no awkward attempts to justify, just 2 women whom life has finally taught to be honest. What did you do with the money from the lot sale? She asks after a long pause. I meet her gaze. Mom said you didn't keep it. I opened accounts for Emma and Lucas, college funds. Her eyes widen and I see amazement and shame battling within her. After everything we did, she whispers. After everything that was, I correct. It's time to stop saving adults. But the children deserve a chance. An hour later, she leaves. We don't hug. We don't promise family holidays. We don't speak words about a new beginning. We just nod, like those who have finally understood. Sometimes love is the ability not to destroy each other. When her car disappears around the corner, I go out onto the porch and sit on the old swing. The air is fresh. The sunset floods the mountains with gold. The rain dissolves in the soft light. On my lap is an open journal. I take a pen and write, "The quietest revenge is peace." The ink soaks into the paper, and with it, what had been burning inside me for years disappears. There is no sharp pain in my chest anymore, only even breathing and the feeling that I have finally found my way home, to myself